my daughter was born with Down syndrome, I decided that maybe that was God's way of telling me I need to change my practice. So I started doing work with my dad, and now, as of last week, the state of Alabama told me we file about 70% of all special ed cases in the state. So out of all the cases that are being filed, my firm does the majority of them, me and my dad do. What I want to do today, and I talked to a lot of my clients and my parents about what do you think is important for other parents to know about the IEP process. How many of you been in an IEP before? Everybody pretty much? Okay. How many of you been frustrated in an IEP before?
With the school or your spouse?
I was waiting, I just looked at it like, okay.
Any of the above. My main focus today is going to be school. I don't do marriage. I don't do marriage counseling, but Drake does. On that note, let me introduce you to Drake Denton. He is here today. He is he was telling some people earlier. He has children with special needs. He's also a therapist, counselor, and he's excellent. And he does special ed advocacy as well. So I want him to be here today for y'all to get his card because, you know, parents of kids with special needs have special stresses, I have found, personally. And sometimes it's good to have somebody else in your corner. Drake's a good guy to have in your corner. I'm going to hand these out, as a matter of fact. If you'll pass those out. Somebody want to do it? I'm handing out ADAP's newest form. It is, and ADAP wanted me to let you know, it's a right, not a favor, is now in republication, which means it's been updated, supplemented, all new information. But the good thing about our technology in this day and age, if you look at what I just handed out, the website's on there, and you can actually download it from the website. So you can get the whole book now that's been revised and changed onto your e-reader. So these may be kind of going out of publication, I don't know. Hopefully we're going to have some in a couple of months, and I'll bring some new ones up here to Sue. All right. Also, my PowerPoint is working. I appreciate Sue getting that set up for me. I've got some helpful information. The name of the website for my firm is Sears and SearsLaw.com. We've got links on there. There's going to be Monday a resources tab that'll have the Alabama Administrative Code on it so that you can actually go up there and look at it. With that, how many of you know what the Alabama Administrative Code is? Y'all know? I know Drake does. The Alabama Administrative Code is what codifies the IDEA into law in Alabama. All right? Each state has their own codification of the IDEA. The IDEA, of course, is the Individuals with Disability Education Improvement Act, and basically what the reasons why the states actually have to follow the IDEA is because the federal government gives money to the states for special education and says, you can take the money, but there are rules with this money, and you have to essentially take our rules and make it law in your state. That's what the Alabama Administrative Code does. It's 290-9-8 point blah, blah, blah. But if you go to it, it is almost unreadable to anybody, okay? And I've got kind of a funny story. I have attorneys, they call me once or twice a month and they say, Shane, I really want to do what you do. And I say, that is wonderful. This is what I want you to do. Go read the Alabama Administrative Code, read it, call me back, I will get you in here, I'll take you to stuff with me, I will Sherpa you through this. And in all my years, not one attorney has taken me up on that. It's almost unreadable. It is difficult to read, it's like a foreign language, and they make it that way. I don't see how they expect parents to understand it. I really don't. There's only been one person who has actually gotten through the code and told me they've gotten through the code and seems to understand the code now, and that's Drake. So I've only had one person that's been able to do it. Even the attorneys will not do it. And that leads me to my next point. In Alabama, there's only 5 or 6 of us that regularly do this work. It is so specialized. And after you read the code, nobody wants to do it. There's so many traps in the law. There's so many pitfalls you can run into. It's just very difficult to understand at times. And I've explained it to Drake this way, I've explained it to other people. If you read it by section, you can kind of get a feel for how the law works. And it's set up into general definition section, and then it's set up into a disability section, and you can literally find your child's disability to read what the criteria are for him or her. And each one has a different, Down syndrome, Asperger's, autism, hearing delays, speech delays, they all have a different criteria you can look at and determine what testing has to be done for your child to be qualified and found eligible under the IDEA. So that's all there, and I can kind of get you through that. My direct line, which I call my cell phone, my number's right there. People call me all the time, they have questions. One of the most asked questions that I get is, I am moving and I want to move to this area. How bad is their system? Okay? And there are some systems in the state that I would not send my dog to. There are other systems that I can say, wow, they're great and won't have one lick of problems with them. And so actually Drake and I have considered making a website with kind of a top 10 list of places not to send your child with disabilities, or to have some ranking for school systems. And that's kind of in the development stage now, but I think we'll probably get that done in the next few months. So you'll be able to go to my website, punch a link, and say if you want to go to Homewood, Vestavia, Birmingham, and see kind of how they fall in line, which I think would be helpful to folks. All right.
There used to be a website called like school grades or something like that when people are moving to an area. And I don't know that, I wonder if they do any kind of assessment related to special needs. Has anybody ever checked that?
I've seen that, and they're not specific to disabilities.
It'd be neat if they would add that component in, or
Yeah.
maybe y'all can get a link on the end.
Okay, here's the next thing. I represent many parents and many children, and I tell parents all the time, I really don't represent you, I represent your child. And you do a lot of talking, however, I have to look at what's in the best interest of your child, and the way I do it is by saying, what would I want someone to do for my child? And that's how I treat your child. If I think you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. I get a lot of parents that call me, and they don't like me because I'm very blunt with them. They call me and want to whine and cry, and they have a legitimate concern about their child. However, it does not fall within the gamut of what I do in so many school systems. And they want to know, why won't you help me? Why won't you help me? And I just tell them, you don't have a case. You do not meet the criteria under the IDEA for me to sue the school system. Now, that criteria is up here. And I give every parent this when I represent them, just so they know exactly what I can do for them and what I can't do for them. Cases under the IDEA are not designed for the parent to win money. It's not like you see on TV, I'm going to get you $1 million. That's not it at all. You're not getting any money, in fact, unless it's for some restitution that they have to pay you because you had to send your child to private school or something like that. The next thing that a lot of parents want me to do is to seek revenge. They want revenge on the teachers, the school system, or other people. That's not my job. That's not what I do. The other big one, and I think they get this from the billboard lawyers, they want to get justice. That's another good one. I don't do justice. I help your child. The other thing is, if your child, they want their child to walk away the winner. That's not it either. Another big one I get is they want the teacher fired. Well, they're mean to little Johnny and they deserve to be fired, and I want you to go down to the school board and get them fired. I don't do that. The other is for your child or for you to get some sort of systemic change. Unfortunately, the IDEA is not set up for systemic change. It is set up to help your specific child because it is individualized. IEP, Individualized Education Plan. It's individualized for your child. It's not for all children. All right? And last, and this is my favorite, is for you to get an apology. They often get mad, they want everybody in the world to apologize to them. And in fact, I have had someone get an apology one time, which I thought was unbelievable. Signed apology from the school. But that is generally not the rule. The intent of the IDEA, and I hope y'all can read some of this, it turned out a little smaller than I'd hoped, but it is for your child to receive a FAPE. And how many of y'all know what a FAPE is? You're familiar? A FAPE is a free and appropriate public education, and that is federal law. And what it says is that every child with an IEP is entitled to receive a free and appropriate education. Now, what falls under free and appropriate education is different for every child. Okay, we're going to get into that. The next thing is to provide your child with related services. Related services under the law is PT, OT, speech, counseling. It could be ABA therapy, some sort of behavior modification, assistive technology. That's a big one going on right now in the state. The next is, if FAPE cannot be achieved, then we will find a placement where your child can achieve FAPE. And that means in North Alabama, if your child has autism, then we can always look at maybe getting them put in the Riley Center, which is an excellent organization up there, and they can provide FAPE to your child if that school system cannot.
I'm sorry, what's FAPE again?
Free and appropriate public education. And I get to talking fast, and I apologize. I'm a fast-talking Southerner, and I've just got so much material I want to get through that I don't want to leave anything out. The other thing is for your child to obtain an educational benefit from his IEP, all right? If your child has an IEP, it's not enough for the school system just to have an IEP for your child. Your child has to be getting some benefit from it. If little Johnny, and I want to use little Johnny a lot today, I hate to be bad on that kid, but if little Johnny has an IEP and he's still failing everything, well, that doesn't matter. The IEP is ineffective. Something needs to change. And I'm going to tell you about kind of the test that you go through with benchmarks and goals and whatnot to determine is little Johnny receiving a FAPE. The other thing is, and the most important thing, is that as part of an IEP plan, I'm sorry, y'all are looking. The school has to collect data. How do you determine if little Johnny is improving or if his plan is individualized unless you are collecting data? All right? Teachers hate to collect data. And you know why? Because it's a lot of work. And I'm going to go ahead and say this now. I have nothing against teachers. Both my parents were teachers. They both taught at Alabama. I taught at Alabama. I have nothing but, trying to think of the right word for it, respect for our teaching community. However, teachers have a lot of stresses on them. They don't always get it done. And some of them in some school systems, and a lot of what I say today, you know, there's a continuum of school systems. You have the really good systems up here and the really bad ones up here. And a lot of the teachers I'm going to refer to today are down here in this part of the system. They're not necessarily in these other school systems. But, you know, I'm not talking bad about teachers, but I do want y'all to be aware. And what I want you to walk away today, if nothing else, is a change of mindset when dealing with school systems and dealing with your child's IEP, because what I see on a daily basis is parents messing up. Parents just don't understand what they need to be doing during an IEP, and they're doing it completely wrong. All right, and I'm going to get to that. The next thing, aside from data, is to provide your child with the IEP, which is the Individualized Education Plan. And that is that long booklet that you see with the profile, the benchmarks, the goals, the services. That is your child's IEP. Now, let me tell you one thing about that most parents don't understand. IEP is your contract with the school system. It is like you buying a car, okay? Once it's in writing, the school system has to do it unless it's changed. Okay, that's the only difference between the car contract and the IEP is the IEP can be changed at any time by a parent who calls for an IEP meeting, okay? That's one thing I want to change your mindset about. this is a contract, and y'all need to treat it as such, just like I need to treat it as such. And unless y'all change it, that's what goes. So you need to be, and the important thing is that because it's a contract, don't put your name to it, don't sign it unless you are 100% in agreement with it. And I don't mean 98%, I don't mean 99%. Unless you agree with it 100%, do not sign it. All right? Work for me. All right, I've gotten to some of this. Why am I here? This is not a theoretical question, but this is more of a what am I hoping to accomplish today? Well, I'm hoping to change your mindset when dealing with the IEP team, so you basically won't need me later. I'm trying to talk myself out of a job, but I have got so much work to do.
You don't.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm going to tell you things today that are going to blow your mind. All right, y'all are going to sit there and think, wow, this makes really good sense. I don't know why I've been doing it the other way. And I'm going to tell you things that are going to change your child's individual education plan for the better. All right? Why we do this work? They do these seminars, the school systems do every year. And they call us names, they call us extortionists, they call us educational terrorists, which I think would be a good name for a rock band. And they call us the litany of a-hole and whatever else, which, I don't feel like I'm doing a good job unless I'm making somebody mad. So it just emboldens me to do this work. They're very rude about it. They think that we're costing them time, we're costing them money, we're essentially taking teaching away from children. Well, if you're not doing it right to begin with, I really couldn't care less. Okay? I'm here to represent y'all's children. I'm here to represent my children. I'm here to represent the folks that can't do it themselves. All right? And that leads me to the next thing. How do we do it? How am I going to force the school system to do what they're supposed to do? And that is through filing what's known as a due process complaint. And what that is it is a lawsuit against the school system. All right? And it basically tells them, you are not providing FAPE to little Johnny, and you're going to provide FAPE. It is the same thing as filing a lawsuit, and it is tracked by Dr. Tommy Bice, who is the superintendent of education. So when I file that, Dr. Bice gets notice that you, Johnny's mother, is upset that little Johnny's not getting some service, and then the state can go back and make sure that that gets resolved. However it gets resolved, through informal mediation, resolution meeting, or settlement, or trial. Okay? I've already told you some of this. There's only about 5 or 6 of us that do it. There are some of the attorneys of that 5 or 6 that think the best way to resolve differences with the school system is to go and cuddle them and pat their little heads and say, oh, little school system, we're going to fix this problem for little Johnny. I do it by force. I have found that that is the best way to deal with school systems. It's not to coddle them and caress them into doing the right thing for these children. It's to file a due process lawsuit, and let's work it out in court. Okay? Next, I've already told you the teachers are generally good people, speech. However, these are some of the problems they have. Teachers have high student-teacher ratios. They don't have any aides in the classroom. That is a new thing that I've seen a lot of lately. I apologize. That schools, because of the financial crisis, they don't want to give aides to children who have special needs, which means your teacher is dealing with the child with autism for 75% of the class and can't teach the other children. Well, that just takes away from other children who have IEPs in the classroom. So that's one of the things I'm seeing right now. The other thing is the administration is not supporting them at all. You have a special ed director who's terrible. You have a special ed coordinator who doesn't know what they're doing. You have a litany of problems that these teachers deal with on a daily basis. And the other thing is that if you've got 4 children in your classroom that have IEPs that you're trying to collect data on, how many of those children do you think are you really collecting data on if you've got one child that's taking 70% of your time? All right? I had a case a couple months ago where the teacher in the classroom had an aide, but the school had given this teacher an aide who was also disabled. And I mean, she had a very severe disability which limited her interaction with the students. And I kept asking them, I said, well, you know, why couldn't you get another aide? Why couldn't you get somebody to help this lady? You know, they just didn't have the money. But it all changed after the lawsuit. All right, next thing. This is one of the most important things I want to talk about. How do you analyze the IEP? All right? How do you need to look at your child's IEP? First, you need to understand, what is my child's disability? If it's autism, how does that autism manifest itself? Is it concentration? Is it behavior? Is it any number of things? Is there a goal in your child's IEP to deal with the manifestation of disability? All right? If there's a problem with speech, is there a related service? If your child has a specific learning disability in math, is there a goal for that? How are we going to deal with that disability and how it manifests? If the manifestation is behavior, how are we dealing with that goal? Do we have a goal that says by the end of this year, little Johnny will have social interactions which are appropriate 9 out of 10 times? You know, how do we measure that? The next thing is, once you see a goal, is that goal measurable? Is there a 9 out of 10 times? Is there some way for you as a parent to be able to look at that and assess on the progress report that you will receive, is little Johnny getting better or is little Johnny getting worse? Because if little Johnny's getting worse, what do? Call for an IEP meeting. Fix it. Change what's wrong. All right? That's the reason why you can call under federal law an IEP meeting whenever you want. It's to fix things that aren't working. Okay? If little Johnny's behavior from day one is progressively getting worse, well, why would you wait till the end of the school year to get him some help? You know, get a BCBA in. Get someone with some knowledge on behavior to come up with a behavior intervention plan. And for those of you that don't know, a BCBA is a board certified behavior analyst. And in the Birmingham area, we've got 3 or 4 excellent ones that can help you with your child's behavior, whatever it may be. But they come in and they design what's known as a BIP, which is a behavior intervention plan, which the teacher has to follow. Not only does the teacher have to follow it, everybody in the school gets trained on whatever your child's behavior is and how to deal with his behavior. Okay? Everybody follow me so far? Okay. The next big one is, are they collecting data for your child? All right, if you've got a goal, and that goal is that little Johnny's behavior is going to decrease in severity over the school year to have appropriate social interactions 9 out of 10 times, what data are they collecting? Is it just something the teacher's going to say, well, I think little Johnny got better. It seems to me like it got better. I hear that a lot. Well, how is that collecting data? You know, what pencil to paper item did you collect data for little Johnny's behavior, and how did you do it? Most of the time, the good school systems will have a checklist, and every day they'll check off, how did Johnny do? Did he eat lunch appropriately? Did he interact with his friends appropriately? If he didn't, what were the problems? Okay, so all those are things you need to look for as far as your child's goal is concerned. Now, the other thing about goals, each goal will have a benchmark. How many of y'all know what a benchmark is in the IEP? Okay. Benchmark, for those of you that don't know, is a way to analyze if, in fact, his behavior is getting worse or getting better or whatever the disability is in certain time periods. So it'll say by spring semester, he will have improved his social interaction to 6 out of 10 times, or he'll improve it to 8 out of 10 times, and you will see as a benchmark that the goal in those little benchmarks is to make sure he is going the right direction. If the benchmarks aren't getting met, it means little Johnny is not going in the right direction and something needs to be done to fix it. All right? I told you about the behavior intervention plan. Are there services needed? PT, OT, speech. If your child needs PT, OT, or speech, they will need to do an evaluation to determine where they are on the spectrum so that they can either get them caught up or have them progress or whatever the case may be. So have the evaluation done first for PT, OT, and speech, and then you will know where to go from there as far as a goal is concerned for your child. All right. Everybody knows that David Letterman has announced his retirement. He'll be retiring next year, so in honor of David Letterman, I've kind of done a top 10 traps and pitfalls to avoid in the IEP process. There's more than 10, but I just thought, let's go with David Letterman. This is one of my favorite pitfalls of any IEP. I don't want to throw my wife under the bus, but when initially our child was born with Down syndrome, we had to attend our first IEP meeting. I sat her down just like I do my clients, and I said, okay, honey, this is what's going to happen. There's going to be 6 or 8 people in the room. They're all going to be eyeballing you. It's very intimidating. They're going to, tell you things, and you're supposed to just believe they're the professionals and just listen to them and do what they say. And I said, we're not going to do that. We're going to look very critically of everything they want to do for our child. And she said, oh, no, these are nice people. These are good people. We're in a good system. We need to just listen to them and do what they want and blah, blah, blah. And I just smiled and shook my head, and I said, okay, we'll go see. And when we left, she looked at me and said, oh, my God, you were right. And I said, I know I'm right. I do this every day, twice a day. I said, these people, and I say these people, but you have to understand, these people are not your friends. They're not your mortal enemy, but they are your enemy. Okay? And I know y'all are staring at me like, oh my God, this guy's out of his mind. I'm not out of my mind. If you believe that, you will never have to come see me. The problem I have with parents, 90% of the time, is that they go in there and basically, that's not how I'm going to put it, they basically go in there and just let them run roughshod over the IEP process, which means the special education coordinator, the special ed teacher, basically dictate to you what they're going to do for your child, and that's not the way it happens. It's not the way I let parents deal with things. It's not the way when I'm there it happens at all. When I'm there, and I tell parents this all the time, when y'all are there, y'all are in charge, okay? There are 6 or 8 of them. It feels intimidating, but you know who has last say? No matter what they say, it's you, because you don't have to sign anything. You don't have to sign jack crap, okay? If they write something that you don't like, you don't sign it. I have parents all the time that call me and say, well, they told me I had to sign it. I said, well, that's just plain stupid. I don't sign things all the time. My favorite thing in the world is to sit there and I tell them no. I'll go to an IEP meeting and I'll just say, I'm not signing it. My clients aren't signing. And they look dumbfounded. What? And I said, we're not signing it. We don't agree with it. Well, we're going to put you refuse to sign. I said, you do that. That's what we want. One got so mad at me one time, she said, well, you're going to have to sign it. And I said, okay, hand it to me. And I wrote in big letters, this IEP does not provide FAPE, and handed it back to her. And she tore it up. And I said, I'm not signing it. And that's the way you have to be. You have to look through a critical lens of everything they do for your child. Otherwise, you're going to be 5 years down the road, and you're going to call me, and you're going to say, hey, they're not doing anything for my child. And I'm going to say, really? It's because you did not establish what you were going to do from the beginning, and you just let them run all over you. And they want to run over you, and the reason is because once they've done that, they don't have to worry about collecting data, they don't have to worry about progress reports, they don't have to worry about goals, they don't have to worry about benchmarks, they don't have to do anything, because they know they got you in the palm of their hand. Okay? And if you go in there and you establish, and I know this is being filmed for posterity and I could care less, I hope a lot of parents see it, But if you go in there and establish that you're the one in charge of this IEP meeting, and they're going to know it, they're going to become very compliant. Last week, just last week, a lawyer called me, and he has a child with Asperger's, and he was telling me what was going on, that they weren't going to provide X, Y, and Z, and they had to go to this IEP meeting. I said, well, if you want me to go, I'll be glad to go with you. And he said, no, I'm a lawyer, I should be able to handle this. I said, that's fine, just do me a favor, just don't sign it. And I said, I think you'll get the matter resolved. And he called me and he said, Shane, I've never seen the strangest looks on those folks' faces when I told them I would not sign. And he said, I just got them left. I said, that's excellent. The next day, they called him back and they gave him everything he wanted for his child, because they need the signature for the state. All right? And when you don't give them that signature, you hold the power. All right? So when you go in there and you tell them, we're not signing until I get what I want, strangely enough, it usually happens. All right?
There's not a time period to where it will become law if you don't sign.
No. No. There's no time period that it becomes law if you don't sign it. In fact, and I'm going to get to my favorite here. And I'm going to get to your answer. The other thing, and it dovetails in with that, they want you to make you think that you are part of a team. All right? And I've played a lot of team sports in my life. Soccer and football and baseball and blah, blah, blah. But I ain't never been on a team like this. I ain't never been on a team where it's them against me. This is no team. All right? And you need to be aware of it. You're not on a team. You're against these people. They're your enemy. If you had a sword, you'd be fighting them. All right? Think about it from this manner.
I've got my first big one.
Yeah.
You're making me nervous.
What I hope I'm doing
Because I'm
is,
2 for 2 on the pitfalls thus far.
yeah. Well, what I'm hoping to do is give you some arrows to put in your quiver,
I'm
so that you
excited.
know what to do. And think of it from this way: if you're on a team and there's a disagreement, why is it you always lose? Well, because there are 8 of them and 1 of you. That's why you always lose. This is no team. And think about it from this perspective, and we're going to get to my most favorite one. They're all my favorite. I mean, I had clients call me for weeks giving me things. Oh, you need to tell them this, you need to tell them that. The next thing that I really like is you have to sit there and think, there's 8 of them, who's paying these people? Are you paying them? No. Who are they going to agree with if there's a dispute? Not you. You're not giving them money. They're going to agree with that special ed coordinator who is providing their job. All right? And let's see if it's next. I run into this all the time with parents. I end up in court and they tell me, they'll sit down and say, well, Shane, I told Miss Smith, Johnny's teacher, about the problems Johnny was having, and she said she would take care of it. I told her several times she was going to take care of it. She told me she'd take care of it. I believe her. And I said, well, did you put it in writing? No, I didn't put it in writing, but she would never lie. And we get in court, and what does she do? Lies, 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 lies. She lies because she is protecting her job. All right? And you wouldn't sit there and think, well, teachers don't lie. Happens all the time. All the time. So don't sit there and think for a second that just because you told the teacher something that it really matters. Always, always, always put it in writing. Okay? If you did put it in writing, and this is my mantra, if you didn't put it in writing, you didn't do it. Okay? And I get a lot of parents that just swear to me that something occurred, and I believe them 100%. But we get in court, and this is my favorite thing. I'll be sitting with my parents to my right, the judge in front of me, the teacher on the stand, the other side on the left of me, and I'll say, well, Miss Smith, didn't Miss Jones here, didn't she tell you that little Johnny had these problems and you said you take care of it? I never said that. And I will smile and look back at Miss Jones and say, see, you know, I mean, you know, you have a belief in these teachers, and I understand that. But they are going to do what they can to protect themselves. The other
Does
thing.
it all boil down to money as to why they don't want to do follow the rules and do all the right things? Or
Well,
is it just a matter
It's
of,
money and extra work. It's money and extra work, and we have, I think, a lot of teachers out there, and again, we're talking about a continuum of good and bad schools here, but that are just simply lazy and don't want to do the work, and don't want to collect the
And
data,
don't have
and
the
don't want to
support.
do that.
When you say put it in writing, does that mean that you need to call an IEP meeting and it needs to be put in the IEP?
No,
Or does that mean exchange emails with them? What do you?
that's an
think
excellent,
about
excellent question, and I'm gonna get to that too, but I'm gonna go ahead and answer it because, no, it's so, I've got a whole little blue slide coming up on. It's so important, I'm gonna go ahead and answer it. It means that when you, want something for an IEP, you have it typed up, kind of like my notes here. You have it typed up, and you go in there with 10 copies, and you hand it to everybody in the room. Okay? You walk in just like it's your meeting, because damn it, it is. All right? And you say, one for you, one for you, one for you. You go down the row, and you sit down, and you say, okay, let's start addressing them. And you keep a copy. All right? I had a parent 4 months ago, I was in trial, and she swore to me up and down. She said, Shane, I did that, I lost my copy, I swear, I wrote that down, I wrote it down. And I said, well, the school didn't produce it, so, you're saying it, but, I don't have the writing. And the school came in one day with a box of documents and tossed them on my desk and said, oh, we found some extra stuff. And the document was in there. And I said, well, holy crap, you were right, here it is. And she had done it, and the whole case hinged on her providing the school that notice. And I ended up winning the case, just because she had documented what she said she had documented. Because the hearing officer looked at it, and she said, and he even stopped my question at one point and said, well, special ed coordinator, it says right here. I mean, she handed it out to you, it's in your box of documents, why didn't you do anything? I mean, and that's what wins your case right there. All right, so always document it. It's your meeting. Hand it out to them. Keep a copy. Document everything else with emails. To answer your question,
So that's a
I was gonna say, how do I prove that I gave it to her?
because you're going to keep a copy. You're going to keep a dated copy with you. Okay, and all you got to do for your IEP meeting is just put IEP meeting for Johnny, dated June 6, 19, or 2014. That'll be the date of the meeting. Put 15 bullet points that you want them to do or change or whatever, and then keep a copy for yourself. All right, that's all you have to do.
So you're saying go into the IEP meeting with your own document,
Oh, yeah,
say,
absolutely.
This is what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, this is your meeting. I mean, that's
failure.
that's the thing that parents don't understand. This is your meeting for your child. Nobody knows your child better than who? You.
Yeah.
Okay? So you have to treat it like that. Yes, ma'am.
Like in some school systems, they send you out a letter ahead of time with some questions, like they're trying to get all those 15 things that you
I have
want
one of those right now.
ahead of time.
So we need to-
Okay. So do you wait and ask for a draft of the IEP and see if it's incorporated, or do you feel like there's more power in just coming, even if I've answered the questions, still come with my list of things?
Absolutely.
And some of that is not just telling them, it's also maybe the psychology of taking charge, like,
Oh,
let's not
yeah.
push this under the rug, because really, I guess you answer the questions and give it to the teacher, but you've not given it to the whole team.
Right.
So they may not know how assertive you're really gonna be
That's right.
unless you play the game like, this is what I want. Is
Right.
that kind of?
Well,
what
and I
about
tell you,
evaluations? Do you also wait till those are done so that you know? Because some things I might not notice, when they do their evaluation for their IEPs, when you first go in. Do you wait for that data also?
no.
Okay.
No, if you've got a problem, and let me answer your first question, was you've got one of those questionnaires, I've seen a million of them, put it in there, but also document it yourself by taking it in, because I'll tell you what, schools, they lose things very conveniently all the time, all right? And I don't mean they lose them, they hide them.
Mhm.
They make sure that I don't receive them, okay? Because eventually they do turn up, and I do find them. But you need to make sure that you put all the problems for little Johnny in that questionnaire, and then you document it by taking your own sheet with you and handing it out to everybody. And then to top it off in the third way, in the IEP, there's they changed it within this last year. It used to be parent concerns, it may be now parent profile, I can't remember what they did. But have them put all that in the parent concern, parent profile section, okay? Don't sign it unless it's in there.
So when you go to the IEP and they say any parent concerns and we tell them, then.
Say, here they are,
Okay.
right, they're written down.
But then we don't sign it until they put those in there.
That's right. And gosh, you're gonna get me off on a tangent, but I might as well do it now. Here's their favorite technique, all right? Their favorite techniques are, just go ahead and sign it, we'll make it right later. How many of you heard that? Oh,
They're gonna add it.
I meant to ask y'all, or is anybody offended by profanity? Because you're gonna hear a lot from me. That's bull crap, all right? You don't sign it unless it's complete. My other favorite is, you're signing it only to say you're present. Bull crap. That is not the way it works. Or that you're present, okay?
But ours has a separate sheet saying that we're.
No. Don't sign that either. This is all, and I'm glad that everybody's here because I've been telling parents for years, y'all doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. And you are. And I want to correct it. And the first thing is, unless it's completely right in the IEP and in front of you, you don't sign it, okay? I don't care if they tell you, my favorite is, it just says you were present. This does not mean you agree with it. It's like you're getting a ticket for speeding. That's what they tell you, all right? But in trial, you want to know how that plays out? 100 times. Well, Ms. Smith, now you had an IEP, this is what they do. You had an IEP meeting on June 30th of 2013, right? Yeah, and you were present, right? I was present, yes. And you talked about all the concerns you had for little Johnny, right? Yes, I did. And did they agree, and did you agree that everything in that IEP was good for little Johnny and would provide him with faith? No, I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with that at all. Well, Ms. Smith, is this your signature on the back of this page? Well, they told me it meant that I was just present. Horse manure. I mean, that's what they do to you. They lie. If their mouths are moving, they are lying to you. Okay? That's why I'm trying to change your mindset. You have to look so critically at everything they do. And I don't know if, let me look, if my poisonous snake thing is in here. I thought I had it in here. Did I miss it?
Yeah, missed it.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I didn't see it. At any rate, you need to treat them as if they're trying to sell you a bag of poisonous snakes. And I tell parents that all the time. And the look you give them when they hand you something is, what in the hell is this? And you need to look at it from that manner like, why would somebody be giving me a bag of cobras? Why are they handing these to me? What do they want me to do with them? Why does this make sense for me? How does this help my child? That's the way you treat it, everything. And unless you understand it 100% and comprehend it, you don't sign it. Okay?
Just clarify one
Sure.
thing. What she brought up, if it's a piece of paper and it just says attendance, but it's at the meeting, you're saying don't sign anything until after you're 100%
That's right.
confident your IP is like you like it, then sign it.
That's right.
That's all you need.
That's exactly right. I appreciate you asking that question. I have school systems all the time. They say, well, we're taking roll, we're doing whatever. I say, well, that's great. You know, we'll sign everything once the IEP is done. And, you know, my favorite is we're going to put refuse to sign. I said, put it on there.
And because they pass the piece of paper around and everybody in the room signs it, just saying that
Including-
they
Right,
care.
yeah.
Here,
And they do that when you walk in the door
when you
before
walk
you
in the
start
door,
talking.
and then
Just
there's
tell
the
them you can put my
IEP
name on it. Yeah, just tell them my lawyer said you can put my name on it. Yeah, I don't sign, I don't trust them, and you shouldn't trust them. I mean, for your child's sake, you shouldn't trust them. And
So
you
I
need
guess
to,
it doesn't matter that they don't need to know your attendance unless you have an outcome. If you don't like the contract, there's no outcome in the IEP. So they don't need a record of your attendance because you didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where, I guess, the security comes from. Well, it really doesn't matter whether or not I'm here unless we have a contract to sign.
I just tell them, hey, you can put my name to it, I don't care, I'm not signing anything. They're looking for your signature, don't give them that. All right, and that brings me to the next point, I'm glad you asked it. This is the other famous thing that schools have started doing the last couple of years that I see. They do what's known as a meeting notes summary. I don't know if y'all encountered that or not. And what that is there'll be one teacher, and you'll sit there and you'll be like, there's 8 people in the room, and there's this one lady over there, and she's furiously
Or typing.
typing or writing. And by the end of the meeting, before you signed the IEP, they come up and say, well, we didn't introduce Nancy over here. Nancy's been taking copious notes throughout this process, and Nancy has taken a summary that we want you to sign. Don't sign that. Don't. That is like, that is their way of trying to catch you in something else.